All right, hot microphone. Antiwar radio. How's it going, y'all? I'm Scott. It's the show again. I'm back. I've been gone, but now I'm not gone. Got a good show lined up for you today, too. Gareth Porter's going to be here. And Anthony Gregory is actually sitting here right now. He will be joining us on the air here, too. But first, we're going to go to Jason Ditz. News.antiwar.com for Jason Ditz, Antiwar.com's news director. Welcome back to the show, Jason. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing good, Scott. How are you?
I'm doing great. Listen, man, I really appreciate you joining me on the show today, as always. But here's the thing. I have no idea what's going on in the world. This is the longest time I've gone without reading the news. Well, a little bit, you know, what am I going to do? Not read Antiwar.com at all. But mostly I haven't paid attention to the news for 3 weeks. So I know that, you know, Barack Obama's been killing Pakistanis and, you know, basic standard boilerplate stuff like that. But I was hoping that you could help catch me up. So right now I'm just looking at news.antiwar.com, and I thought I'd just go through here and find some headlines and see if you can help fill me in on some details. The top headline here at news.antiwar.com is Yemen launches flurry of airstrikes against South following clashes. So can you catch me up on 3 weeks of America's war in Yemen, Jason, please?
Well, there's not a ton to catch up on. It's just more of the same. There have been ambushes and the occasional assassination of a Yemeni official, and now they're bombing targets that they say belong to al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula. Of course, Yemen's history of bombing that province suggests that they don't really know whose targets are what, and they could just as easily be bombing random houses or bombing the separatist movement.
Well, that is the thing, is Yemen is a very complicated place, right, with all kinds of civil wars in the past since British rule ended, and you have socialists here, and you have Shiite insurgents there, and Sunni insurgents there, and then supposedly you have some al-Qaeda dudes. But I guess the question really is, does anybody know, is America just paying the government of Yemen to fight their enemies, whoever their enemies happen to be, or are they actually going after, I don't know, somebody worth going after at all? I don't know.
Well, I think the American hope is certainly that they'll go after al-Qaeda first and foremost, but that hasn't really proven to be the case over the past few years. More often than not, the Yemeni government gets sidetracked with the more domestically popular fights against the Shiites in the north or against the separatists in the south.
Yeah, you know, you remember that piece on Yemen in the New York Times? I guess about a month and a half ago or something. I think it was like the New York Times Weekend Magazine or something. Did a really in-depth piece about Yemen and the crisis going on there. And basically, even to hear the New York Times tell it by the end of that thing, man, we should not be messing around there at all. They went after some guys that, you know, at least according to New York Times reporter guy, really were al-Qaeda dudes, but then they ended up killing all kinds of people, and in the local politics in the province, basically they killed a government minister, I think was one of them, but they also killed a tribal leader that, had respect from the government that America supports there, and basically interfered with the locals' attempts to marginalize al-Qaeda. And even the New York Times was saying, you know, this is a big muddy. Why are we wading into it here when it seems like even just getting started, really, we're making things worse?
Well, yeah, that's sort of the old story that officials don't really understand what they're doing or how they're going to do it, and they just have this impulse to do something, whether or not it's a good idea.
All right. Well, so now let's talk about whatever. This should take one sentence. We got peace in Palestine or what?
No.
Yeah, but I saw, 6 weeks ago, they said, yeah, we're going to do these peace talks and create a Palestinian state, and Barack Obama, is falling through on his Cairo speech and all that. No?
No.
Sorry, I have trouble feigning that level of ignorance without breaking out laughing. Well, so are they going to extend the partial freeze on the rate of growth of the colonies in the West Bank at all?
It doesn't sound like it, and even if they do at this point, the freeze has been over for a few weeks now, and the government's approved hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of new settlements since then.
Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of new ones?
Yeah. Well, new constructions within the settlements, not new settlements themselves.
Right, okay.
But it really wouldn't matter all that much if they did a 60-day freeze again like they were talking. Even if they do it, which it doesn't sound like they will, all the stuff that got approved in the interim in between the two freezes would still be approved and would still be allowed to continue.
Yeah. So, in other words, Palestine, same story, different day. Was there anything big that broke out there, or anything we really need to know about?
Not really. There've been some talks around the Palestinian officials citing the 1967 border as something that would solve everything, and would one of the PLO's officials even said they would recognize Israel as a Jewish state in return for the 67 borders. But
really?
But I don't think anyone seriously believes Israel's going to go back to the 67 borders anyway. So. Well,
of course not. But, the thing is, too, is, I think I saw that headline that Mahmoud Abbas had said that, which that's basically the PLO, the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank, Yasser Arafat's old organization. But Hamas says the same thing. Or I don't know about recognizing the Jewish state part, but I don't know why that would be important anyway. But one of the major leaders of Hamas said on a Charlie Rose show that, look, man, the whole world, including us, are agreed. 67 borders for peace and recognition.
Abbas just yesterday said the Palestinians would end all outstanding claims with Israel in return for the 67 borders, which would include the right of return inside Israel proper, apparently, although it's not clear if he intended to say that.
Wait, I'm sorry, say that again? I'm sorry, repeat that, please?
Abbas, yesterday in an interview with Israeli television, said that the Palestinian Authority and the PLO were willing to abandon all outstanding claims on Israel for everything in return for the 67 borders.
Including the right of return. That's really what that's about, right?
Right. And some people have said it's not clear if he really meant to discount the right of return past that, but it certainly sounds like that.
Yeah, well, those people are terrorists. We don't have to deal with terrorists. All right. So next topic here, since everybody knows that's not going anywhere, except more poverty and hopelessness and humiliation and degradation for the people of Palestine. So when will they ever stop occupying the poor Israelis, I don't know. Poor guys. All right, now talk to me about this. This is the most important thing, and we'll only have a couple of minutes at this before the first break here, Jason, but I want to know about the the election results in Iraq from last March. What's going on there?
Well, it's been more of the same, really. The fighting about how to form a coalition, which, of course, you've got the three main factions there, the Iraqi faction, the State of Law faction, and the Iraqi National Alliance. And it looked like a couple of weeks ago, State of Law and the Iraqi National Alliance, the two religious Shiite factions, were finally going to get together and form a government.
But now it's looking like that's not the case, then?
Well, now there are reports, according to one of the top members of the Supreme Islamic Council, that President Obama is telling Maliki he'd better not do that.
All right. Hold it right there, Jason. We'll be right back with Jason and who's who in Iraq taking power and whether that war is going to break back out again right after this. All right, y'all. It's Antiwar Radio on the Liberty Radio Network. I'm Scott Horton. I'm talking with Jason Ditz. He's our news editor at news.antiwar.com. And now a little bit of inside baseball here just to refresh everyone.